Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot, oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girlz. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here are your supernatural hosts, Patricia Baker and Becky Andreasen. Supernatural Girlz.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting show, and I do mean exciting tonight, of Supernatural Girlz Radio. I am here with my co-host, Patricia Kirkman. Hi, Patricia.
Well, hello, Patricia. How are you?
I'm so excited. We have got the most amazing guest tonight, who is your dear friend and now my dear friend.
Good. I like to share nice things.
Well, it's certainly George Lugo is more than nice. He is a super medium. I do mean super. I can't wait to get him on the show. This is really going to be enlightening, and we have people lined up already in the chat room and on the board to ask him questions. And we've got questions, too. We are going to really have fun tonight.
Not a doubt in my mind. Not a doubt in my mind.
So it's
we'll
getting
put him on the
warmer
hot
here.
seat. That's what we're doing.
We're going to put him on the hot seat. That's for sure.
That's right.
That's
It melts
sure.
me your snow.
And it's getting hot here. We're having a heat wave of like 30, 32, 33.
Oh,
it's getting so warm. I'm actually watching the snow melt. Happy to say.
Oh. We're having a cold day at 62.
Oh, my God. It's all relative, I guess, huh?
Yes. It's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
All right. Well, oh, my goodness. Tucson, the desert, how magical.
That it is. And come August, you can chuckle at me when I'm going through I can't walk. It's so hot.
Yeah, that's right. When it's like 120 in the shade, then we won't be so
That's
jealous.
when I'll come see you.
That's right. Come on out. Come on
You'll
out.
probably
That's
still
right.
have snow.
Yeah. Oh God, no. That would be a disaster and a half. But I do hear that there's some terrible news. Some friends of mine live down south, and they're getting hit again. They're having snow and ice and possible power outages.
Really
it sounds
creating
terrible.
chaos.
Yes,
just
the ice
horrible.
does create chaos. It's worse than anything, and surely you can't drive in it, and then it makes the power lines come down, and it is not fun at all. So yeah, it's looking bad for the South right now. It's quiet up here, and it's quiet where you are, so that's
right.
very good.
So we're bookends.
Yeah. So we've got a number 5 coming up tomorrow. So what goes on with this? I like the number 5.
The calendar day is a 5, which we know has a luck factor to it and a lot of changes. But universally, it's a 7. So it's all about spirituality. It's all about learning, teaching. It means that the majority of us won't sleep well tonight. And a lot of people will do a lot of dreaming tonight.
Oh, really?
There's a lot going on there. And then we've got that full moon coming tomorrow.
Oh, boy. That's going to pack a...
Oh, yeah. The emotions are going to be roaring downhill.
Oh,
but it's
boy.
Going to be interesting. Very interesting.
Well, I like
I've got
the dreaming
all my stones
part.
ready to go in the backyard under the moonlight tomorrow.
All right. Yes, that's
right.
Charge them right up.
God knows they need to be charged. I need all the help I can get.
Yeah. Now, we'll take it from the powerful Grandmother Moon. That sounds good to me.
For sure.
Yes. So we have a little bit of paranormal news. We're going to go back to a little bit of reporting like we used to do. And
good.
I found this really interesting article about Cornell. And they actually did this computer program on surviving the zombie apocalypse. So if it were to really happen, who would survive? It's fascinating how they put this whole thing together. And it's like it's a spread of a hypothetical zombie outbreak in the United States, and not actually something that we couldn't have figured out on our own, but it's not a good thing to be in the cities. So they said the cities would fall in a matter of days, possibly a matter of hours. So New York, L.A., places like that, not the best place to be for a zombie apocalypse. And they did say to head towards the hills, because what would happen is where there's a smaller population, it would slow the outbreak down. There'd be less zombies. So,
I wonder if my backyard would be constituted as a head for the hills.
I don't know. Well,
I've got to wash.
So. I hope so. Otherwise, you're going to have to come out here to the hills.
That's
to be
right.
Safe. But it's a fascinating model they did that shows how things would spread, and it's interactive. You can also design your own zombie outbreak, and it's just so fascinating how they put this all together.
Amazing.
So it is. They had like a bite-to-kill ratio, and how often a zombie would infect a human, and it's just this whole zombie craze is so fascinating to me from a psychological standpoint as well as everything else. But certainly I feel very safe up in the hills. So I'm so happy to say I'm in the right place to survive something like this. So the desert, I would think you'd be fine out there too.
Heard
Did
that
I
clunk.
lose you, Patricia?
I was going to say, if you heard that clunk, I went to move and my headset got caught on the chair and it whipped it right off my head.
Oh, my God. I wondered. I thought maybe a zombie came and got you. All right. Well, that's good.
See,
You're still with
scared
us.
me. I was trying to hide. It didn't work.
Oh, right. Well, again, as I was saying, I think you'd be safe in the desert. The desert's a safe place, and it's again, you're not in the city, so that's good. But again, if anybody wants to check this out, it was published by Cornell, and you can do your own zombie outbreak and see how you would fare. It's just a very interesting thing they put together and kind of fun. Let's hope it never happens. So
I don't intend for it to happen. I've talked to God, and He promised it won't happen.
Oh, good. Well, I'm so relieved to hear that.
I knew you would be.
So tonight we've got your very dear friend who you introduced to me. He is a fabulous psychic medium, George Lugo, and I want to share this story about him, Patricia, because as you know, I was whining to you one day saying that of all the mediums I've talked to, nobody was able to get good information on my biological father, who I never met. And then you said to me, I've got somebody for you. I'm going to introduce you to George. So George and I spoke for a long period of time, and I have to say, hands down, he was the only psychic medium, and I know a lot of them, that I've ever met that was able to hit it absolutely right on the head. I was so impressed with George and his ability to name things. He talked about things that no one else could have known. He was just amazing. And not only was he right in the energy about who my father was and all that, but he was able to open up a portal so that I was able to feel the energy of my biological father who passed and actually form, for the first time since I saw him at my mother's wake, I could actually feel his presence. It was an incredible experience. I've never had anything like this happen before, so I can honestly say George is the most talented psychic medium I have ever had the pleasure of meeting and working with. So thank you, Patricia, for the introduction, and we're thrilled, both you and I, to have George on the show. So I'm going to just tell everybody here in our audience a little bit about George. He is world-renowned. He has worked with Scotland Yard on high-profile missing person cases. We're going to find out about those. And he's dedicated his life to helping people through communicating and delivering messages of hope, love, respect from loved ones who've crossed over to the other side. He's had this gift like so many psychic mediums, since childhood. And he's worked with everybody from movie stars to the homeless to royalty to major CEOs of corporations, people from all walks of life. So, again, this is a wonderful guest we have on tonight. And if you have a question for George during the show, please feel free to call into our number, which is 646-478-0828. Again, that number is 646-478-0828. And you can also write out a question in the chat room. We will ask it for you. And we want to make sure you get all your questions answered by this incredible expert and wonderful all-around guy, George Lugo. George, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Boy, what an intro. Probably the biggest intro I've ever had. That was amazing. Thank you.
Well deserved.
Only because you are amazing, George.
Thank you. Patricia Kirkman, I love you so much. Yeah,
I love you, sweetie.
Yeah, she's been an incredible support to me when I lived in Tucson. And she's right about the heat. You know, when you look in the summertime before you go outside, you look outside and you watch little birds fly by and they burst into flames, and you just know it's hot.
You're not going out.
You're not going out, you know. So
that's a scary
anyway.
thing.
Yeah. So how are you ladies tonight?
We're doing great, and we're so excited to have you on the show. But let's start at the beginning, because I know everybody wants to know how you came to know about your own gift as a child and understand it, and then hone it to the abilities that you have today. So take us through this right from the beginning.
Okay. Well, my first experiences was before I was born. I know that sounds really crazy, but I didn't know about that until I was about 16 years old, after going to a town with some friends of mine, and I sort of like inherently knew the town. I didn't know this town, but we went there, and I asked, I said, "You guys hungry?" They said, "Yeah, let's go to this restaurant." I said, "There's an Italian joint around the corner, so I'll pay for it." So they we're all teenage guys, so we all just zipped around the corner, and there was this restaurant. Never been there. Don't know anything about it. Didn't even know that it existed, but there it was. So I opened the front door of the restaurant. The guys go inside. I'm scanning the restaurant. There's the fake, there's lattice work on the ceiling with the empty wine bottles and grapes, And then to the right, there's all those tuck and roll horseshoe-shaped booths. In the middle of the room, there's these tables, and on the far left side is the counter. Well, and I knew it. I just knew that I had been there. It just felt like that. So that was my first experience. So I went in there, went and sat down way in the far corner by a little hallway that went to the bathrooms. And the guys there was 5 of us, so they sat at a table with 4 chairs. I sat in the booth. And I ordered a number 3. Never had a number 3, didn't even know what it was. They ordered a pizza, and I had a number 3. So I get this sandwich, that's what it was, and it was a great sandwich, and it tasted like I just ate it. And it was just amazing. So anyway, so I'm sitting there, and I'm getting these feelings like, man, I know I've been here. I recognize the guy's voice. It had a heavy Italian accent, and, you could tell by years it had lessened a little bit, but it still had a heavy accent. Well, anyway, during this, I end up going to the bathroom. So I go in the bathroom, and there's a sink on the wall. For some reason, I'm interested on what's underneath the sink. So I'm bending down, looking underneath the sink, and it's just the plumbing. And then I go into the stall. So I'm standing there doing my business, and I noticed I get this flash in my head of a wine vat with women in it, and there's men and women standing around the outside of it, and they're all holding up wine glasses, celebrating the harvest, and the women are crushing grapes. And I'm thinking to myself, what was that, And I looked down in the corner next to the toilet, and there's a little metal tent you guys use, and I went, uh-oh, I think I'm in the women's restroom. And I turned around to close the stall door, and there's that mural. It's on the wall behind the thing. So I could hear the guys laughing outside, thinking, that idiot, he went into the girls' bathroom. So I get out of the bathroom, and I am in the women's restroom. So, okay, I'm going to fast forward. So we all go home after dinner, and they drop me off, and my family had just finished having dinner. So I had walked into the kitchen. My mom was putting things away, and my sisters, and my mom says, "Hey, you want something to eat?" I said, "I just ate." "Well, where did you eat?" "Oh, it's a place called the Italian cypress or tree or something. And she goes, oh, where's that? And I told her the town, and then she said, oh, my God, you went there? Wow. Yeah, I said, yeah, I ordered a number 3. It was just fantastic. And she goes, you're not going to believe this. I used to go there when I was pregnant with you. Before you were born, your dad would take me.
Oh my God!
It's about 80 miles away. So she would go there 2 or 3 times a week with my dad when she was pregnant with me. So that's why I think I was hovering outside of the womb, because everything I noticed in the bathroom, I wanted to get down low and look. So I was hovering. So that's my earliest recollection of all this happening to me. And then after birth, all kinds of paranormal things were happening to me. My mom had me in the crib. I couldn't even roll over yet. I was really, really young. I was just an infant. And I remember seeing the tall bars, the sides of the crib, and my mom had cleared out all the toys, put them in a box. And I had this little tiny Scotty dog. He had a little plaid body and, had a little bell around his neck. And I couldn't really hold it. I just kind of just banged into it. Anyway, she took everything out, threw it in the toy box, left the room, closed the door, and I'm in there alone. And I'm awake, and I'm looking at the ceiling, kind of like kicking my legs and moving my arms around, and I hear that little bell ringing in the background. And here comes the dog flying over the crib, railing into my bed. Then another toy, and then all these toys started falling into my crib. So in the morning when my mom walked in, she was like shocked. She said, and the crib was full of toys again. So these types of things, I've always been kind of like looked after by, these guardians or these, whatever they are. They've always been watching me and protecting me. So I tried to run away from this gift many, many times and denied it and tried to just not do it, but it would never leave me alone. It was just like, no, this is your job. This is what you're going to be doing. You can't get out of it. Sorry, and I can understand the misery behind other mediums that this has happened to, and it drove them insane, or they killed themselves, or they're on medication, or that kind of stuff. I can really see that now, how that could be, because it's a double-edged sword. You can help people, but you also suffer. I used to remember feeling like a thin razor blade slice of my life disappearing when these things would happen. And I just, and I've helped a lot of people, but I never really said that I'm a medium. I never went with that. I just do what I do, and I didn't know what to call it. I didn't have a vocabulary for it until after high school, for all these things that were going on. When I was a kid, they were barely scratching the surface of ESP. So, my mom was researching it because she felt really bad for me because all these things were happening to me, a lot of things. I lost my eyesight.
You, George, let me just stop you for a second because I'm interested in your crib experience when the toys came flying over the railings to join you. Now, do you think that was your guardians giving you your toys back, or was that your own telekinetic ability, or both?
It could have been both, because I didn't see anyone. I didn't feel anyone there, but I was thinking about it. I liked that little dog, and I heard the bell ringing in the box, and then they all sort of like flying across the room and back into my crib and filled the whole thing up again. Yeah, so things like that. And, another time when I was crawling around, when I got to that age of crawling, I kind of disappeared in the house, and my mom was looking everywhere for me. And she found me in the laundry room, and my dad had just bought a refrigerator, and he had the empty box standing upright in that room, and she found me in it. She, to this day, cannot figure out how in the world did I get into that refrigerator box and down at the bottom. I was down playing with a toy down there, and there's just no way. I couldn't even walk yet, and somehow I ended up in this big, tall refrigerator box. Anyway, things like that all through my life, things coming, like porting in and out. Now I look back, hindsight's 20/20. Now when I look back, there were so many things of that nature that would happen around me, and lots of them were gifts. A lot of things were, I'd wake up in the morning with things in my hand that I had dreamt about or someone gave me in a dream. And so, which I now know is a visitation of some sort. Mm-hmm. So, I've had just a lot of things, even alien stuff. I've just kind of thrown out there to do this. But as Patricia knows.
And you work with people all over the world. You were saying that you work with people in the Middle East and Dubai and
yeah, I do
South
readings
America
all over
and everywhere.
Yep. Everywhere. I mean, just everywhere. And I'm always surprised. And sometimes there's translators involved, you know. And then it's interesting because when I do have a translator, like say in Dubai, and they're speaking their language, and they got this English-speaking person, and we're going back and forth, and the person that's coming through for me can't speak English, but they show me in pictures and a feeling. So I have to tell the translator what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling, and then they pass it on to the client, and then they agree and start crying sometimes, or very touching stuff sometimes. It's very, very touching. So so that's how that happens with different other cultures. I read for monks that live on an island off of Japan there. I talk to them once or twice a year. I talk to a lot of different people like that throughout the world. And,
now, you read for royalty, too. Now, that must be an interesting experience, just the security alone of putting you in the same room with these people.
Yes, once, I can't tell you which king it was, but I read for 3 kings so far, and one of them, I was flown to San Francisco, stayed in Union Square, if you know where that is. I stayed in Union Square at the big hotel there, and went, they told me to check in at the front desk, and I did, and these guys came out, and they patted me down, and they walked me over to this banquet room, and the whole banquet room was dark except for a couple of perimeter lights, and it was pretty dim in there, and they said, please sit at that table in the middle of the room and wait. So I went to this, just 2 chairs and a little table, and with some water on it, and I sat there and I kind of waited, and I started getting these images already. And it made me kind of laugh because I kept seeing the Burger King guy, running around. And I thought, oh, okay, so it's got to be like royalty or something. Yeah, got the crown. So here comes this man into the room, and he's, very emaciated looking, and he never said a word. He had a poker face to the max, and he just sat down, and I started going at it. And he had things going down in South America, also in France, Italy, and all these things were coming up, all these numbers and things. And I was telling him about everything, and he just kept listening. So I was supposed to just read for him. He loved his reading, and I was happy to do it. And after that, he says, would you read for my wife? And I said, sure. So she came in, and then after her reading, she said, would you read for my bodyguard? I said, sure. And then he comes in, and then, would you read for my guard? So I had like 7 guys, line up and come in. I ended up being there for hours, reading these people, and but they set me up in a nice place, paid for everything. It was just beautiful. It was just an amazing trip. But I had to trust on my side because I didn't know who I was reading for. They never told me who I was reading for until after the whole thing was over. Well, I got it through the reading. Yeah, they never told me, so I didn't know if it was going to be mob ties or royalty or the president
or off
or
with
what.
Your head when it was over, right?
Kill him. I'm like, oh my God, So look for an exit door, and wear some tennis shoes. So, but anyway, So like that, I read for that, and I read for monks, for different monks. I read for 4 bishops, which is a very unusual thing. Yeah,
you mean Catholic? Are you talking Catholic bishop?
Yes.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
Wow.
And
so
the first guy I read for, had a cocked eyebrow and his arms crossed, and he just kind of like sat there, and I'm like, geez, please, don't burn me to a stake or whatever. So I read for him, and then and then the other ones started showing up, and so I've done a lot of traveling, in my lifetime, and just read for all kinds of unusual people.
Now, when
but I read for homeless.
George, before you go into those experiences with homeless people, let me just ask you, because people want to know, and they're writing questions in the chat room, when you get information, how does it come to you? Does it come in images, with voices? I mean, people want to know how you receive this.
Both. Yeah, both. When I usually have like blinders on, so I don't have to feel everything all the time. That's what I'm talking about. It kind of wears on you sometimes. So if somebody comes to see me and they sit down, I just kind of like take a big deep breath, calm myself down, check your ego out in the hall, leave it out there, and that way you can do the work. And you just have just enough ego to have confidence, that way you don't shut down. But just, and so I just sit there and I just feel it, and then they start coming. They usually come in on my left side, but I feel them in my heart first. So these are like loving souls. They come in and I feel them, and then the feeling in my heart goes up to my head. Then I start seeing images, and I smell things, and I can feel things, and sometimes they'll touch me. Sometimes there's a physical phenomenon going on in the room when I'm doing this work. And sometimes I don't tell my client because I want them to feel it, see it, experience it. Mm-hmm. But for me, that's kind of how it happens. Not too long ago, I had a woman that I usually take your hands just for a minute, just for a second, just take your hands just to connect, and then I let go. And I don't want to know anything about you. I want a nice, clean slate, a blank canvas. All I want to know is your first name, and that could even be different if you want. So that's how I want it. And so that way, when these images come in, they're very pure. But yeah, I feel the physical change in my body. Sometimes the temperature drops around me. I can feel that, and I can feel them in my heart. I can feel them trying to get in my body occasionally. I can feel this kind of like my heart starts jumping around, and I can feel like my intestines kind of moving around, or I don't know how to. It's like when you have a drop of dye, and you put a drop of dye in a glass of water, and it goes boink, and it kind of just swirls. It's like that, but it's an icy cold feeling, and it goes into me. And when that happens, I go, oh boy, I got a bunch here, or one's very strong. And so they started coming in and started showing me images. I don't always see the person exactly, but when I do describe that person to my sitter, the person that came to me. My clients will have the experience. I had a 450-pound guy sitting in my chair. I thought was going to flatten it out, but he was sitting there, and I took his hands for a minute, and he says, "I'm only here because my mother sent me." And I said, "Okay." So I took his hands for a second, and he knew nothing about this stuff at all. He was totally oblivious to it. And in the middle, the temperature started going down. This person was coming through that was really close to him and started describing things, saying, "I want you to keep this." And so he was like saying, "Keep what?" And I said, "Well, he's showing me like he's an outdoorsman. And so he wants you to keep this. There's a Winchester model, whatever it was, that's got a signature on it, and he wants you to keep that." And he knew what it was, and he started crying a little bit. And then all of a sudden, he says, Wait, stop. And I'm going, what's the matter? He goes, "I feel like I'm floating out of my chair." And I said, "Oh, that's just them loving up on you. That's all. They're just touching you, and they're getting around you." And sometimes they'll do that. The person will feel real light, like they're going to float out of their chair, or they'll get touched, or they can smell them. And sometimes I see little balls of light enter them, that they come over my left shoulder, and they're like these little balls of light go right into their body or into their hands if I'm touching their hands, and
so
they'll see it.
So they can experience a physical experience sometimes
yes.
of exactly what you're experiencing or something like it, which is, again, I think that's very unusual, and it's a testament to your talent that you're able to share that kind of level of energy. It's a high level of energy with your clients. It's excellent.
George, you remember when you came to the house one day and you came in, and all of a sudden you looked at me and you said, "How'd you change clothes so fast?" My mother had passed away about a year before, and she had a favorite dress, which was the chartreuse green and it all pleated bottom. She liked it because it swished. He said, "Where did the green dress go that you just had on? How'd you get your slacks on so fast?"
Yeah, let me tell them what I saw. It was the first time I met you. It was the first time I went to your office. So I pulled up in the driveway, and you were walking across your gravel driveway going out to the street to get your garbage can. And I'm thinking in my mind, oh, my God, she doesn't want to meet me, with first impression dragging a garbage can. So you were pulling this garbage can across the gravel, and then when you got like right in front of my car, probably like about maybe 20 feet in front of me, and you were pulling this trash can, I looked down at my paperwork and grabbed my stuff, and when I looked up, it was a different person, shorter, pulling this trash can, and they pulled it around the corner. And then I described to you who that was. And so that was your mother, because a couple of seconds later, you opened the door, and you go, "Hi." And I go, "Hi." I walked in, and, and I really liked your attitude, and, you just had this straightforward, no nonsense, you just said, all right, sit down. I'm Patricia Kirkman. I know who you are. Okay, prove it. Show me what you got, kid. And so
we had met on numerous occasions, but we never really talked about what either one of us really did until this occasion came about, which was funny.
Yeah. So I just sat down.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You talk about everything coming in on the left side. Are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Okay, I'm just curious to see if that coincided.
Yeah, I don't know. And when at some of these psychic fairs they have those aura photography things.
Right.
When they do it for me, the left side of my body is just shrouded in like all this yellow, like spirit world kind of. It's all standing there all the time. Oh, that's another thing. Well, when I do my readings over the phone, and a soul comes to me and is talking to my sitter who's anywhere in the world, that person, I get a real clear image of them sometimes, and then I'll tell the person on the phone, hey, listen, I'm getting this man, receding hairline, mustache, stocky build, talking about his lazy boy chair that's right behind you. Is that true? And they go, yeah, it's right behind me. I said, is there a table on the left side and a family picture over the fireplace? How do you know I have a fireplace? Well, he's showing me the room. I want you to take a picture right now. So I'll describe that person, what they look like. They'll take a picture where I tell them to, and I say just take 3 pictures of the same area in the same position, because it may not show up in the first shot but could be in the second and then gone in the third, or maybe even stronger in the third. So they'll do that, and any phone will do. Any cheapy, any kind of phone, digital phone will work. Spirit loves digital. I'll tell you that right now. So they'll take a picture like near their, dad's lazy boy chair, and they'll go, and they start bawling their head off. And I said, will you please send that to me? And they go, yeah, sure. So when I do these public things, I bring all those photographs of all these souls that have come through, and people have taken pictures of them while I'm reading for them. But see, I don't, when I see them, it's not, I don't see a streak or a ball of light or anything like that. You'll see the image of that person, and they're sort of transparent, and you can kind of see through them, but they'll be standing there or sitting there, or, and so I have a little stack of those. And
that's great. That again.
Not only that, but other spirits will be standing with them too. That's another thing. So I'm only seeing that once. They'll bring in other family members and friends, and sometimes they'll be facing a different direction. That kind of thing. It's really unusual. It's Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's just that I was going to ask you, and here this is also a lot of questions coming up in the chat room about this. Have you ever, when you've read for somebody, encountered an entity that was not friendly, or what you would call a dark entity?
Yeah. See, now when I go into my little thing, I don't know the zone or whatever you want to call it, I don't allow any of that to come into it, because I'm really working for the person in front of me, and I become sort of like a pipe, and I just get the images and the feelings and all that, and I don't feel. I go to a place, or they come to me, they're in a place that's much, much higher. There are no shadow people, there are no demons, there are no dark entities that are trying to break in. The only time I get information that is not of that realm is I feel that it might be alien, because they're not menacing. I feel like they're super high intelligence, and they're letting me know something that's different from what I receive. But sometimes they'll be on the outskirts of the realm that I go to, So, and I don't know how I know some of this information. I come back, and when I come out of this, I've done my job for the person that's sitting in front of me, but all of a sudden I've got this other information that just comes out of somewhere, Anyway, the commander. You mentioned the commander, and I took that picture of you over on the Skype thing.
That's right.
Did you notice that he looks a lot like the image you have on your header on your website for Supernatural
let's tell everybody
Girls?
a little bit about what we did, because the audience, I know, has been following a little bit of what we were doing with Skoll. And when Becky became ill originally, which was over a year ago, we had to kind of put a few things to the side, and Helene and I continued with this for a period of time. Then Helene became ill. So now Becky's back involved, and Becky's feeling so much better. And
Good.
Thank God in heaven she is doing just great, just terrific. So what happened was we invited you, George, to come into a Skoll session with us. And for people that aren't familiar with Skoll, you should watch the Afterlife Investigations on YouTube. That'll tell you everything you need to know about the Skoll experiment, which took place in the UK in the 90s. It was a fascinating experience, and we've had Robin Foy, who was the main investigator and medium, on our show several times. We're going to have him back again. But anyways, what we did, when was that, last week or the week before with you, George?
Week before. We skipped a week.
We all sat together on Skype because we're all in different parts of the country. And what we do is we just see who shows up, and then we all take photographs. And, George, you took a photograph of the screen, and what showed up in the photograph of me on the screen was the commander. The commander is an extraterrestrial, very powerful. When he talks, we listen. And also, right above him, you pointed out to me, which I didn't even catch at first, was a photograph of my little Micah, who was a Shih Tzu that my husband and I took in the last part of his life and took care of him for several years. He had passed away about 9 years ago, and there he was. So it was a great, great photograph. I'm going to put it out on Twitter and on Facebook so everybody can see it. It was amazing.
Yeah, you can see his little legs.
Like that.
You can see his legs and his chest and his little face, cute little face, kind of like cooing almost, like looking straight forward. But right below him was the commander.
Commander.
Oh, man. I mean, wow. I didn't notice it at first because I wasn't sure what I was looking for. But when you pointed that out, I just went, holy smokes, man, that is really an alien face. That is really one, you know. And then when I noticed it on your header there, I went, looks a lot like him. You know?
Yeah, it's very similar. The commander appears to me in the photo, that one and the other ones we have of him from other sessions, to have a symbol of a phoenix on his forehead. So there seems to be some order that he is affiliated with or the commander of. But when he first showed up, we saw him and we felt his energy, and Helene was the one who said, his name is the commander, and she was right. So I'm very excited to be working with you and Becky on all of this, and we'll keep people posted on what's going to happen next. I think with all of our energy combined, it's going to continue to be great. So that was fun.
Yeah, great. I'm looking forward to it. Are there any questions that anybody has for me?
Yeah, let's talk about, now, I know that you were called to a case by Scotland Yard. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I can. Actually, it was my first time in Florida. I was visiting with my aunt, who's now passed. She was a trans medium, and I was visiting with her down in Orlando. And I get this phone call in the middle of the day, and it's Scotland Yard. And I thought it was my friends pulling a prank, you know, but it was Scotland Yard. And they just said, we have a missing persons. And I said, okay. And they said, what do you get? And I said, is that it? You're not going to tell me anything else? And they said, no. And I said, okay. So I picked up on a little girl below the age of 5, probably 3-ish, around there somewhere. And I just described what I saw. And they didn't say yes or no. They said, we'll call you back in 3 days, because they wanted to check out what I had. So they did. It all happened to exactly what I said. They found exactly what I said they were going to find. So they found that.
Can you tell us more about what you said that they were going to find?
Yeah. Okay. I said that there's a little girl that's kidnapped. It seems to be either Italy or Portugal. I feel like it's more like Portugal, but heading towards Italy. And they didn't say anything. And I just said, look for a cobblestone street somewhere in Portugal, and there's a mural on the wall that's not finished yet, and it's orange. Part of it is orange, and it has double doors, and it's on a side street, like a little hotel or a hostel or something. And you need to go upstairs. I said, I feel like she's been up there, and that's all I'm getting. That's most of what I got. So they did, and they found all of that. And they said, wow. So they called me back, and they said, okay, we got that. What are you getting now? So then I saw the images of an airplane, and I told them what numbers I saw on it. They checked it out. Definitely happened. Then I saw they called me back a third time, and then they asked me. They said, "Would you come out here and help us with this? If would you do that?" I said, "As long as you pay for it, I'll be happy to do it." And so, you pay my way there and all that. So they said, "Oh, absolutely." Well, what are you getting this time? So I kind of did my little thing, and then I saw some buildings in an old part of town again, and then it was like a camera was like just like going across down the road and showing me these little fronts of homes or two-story houses and stuff. Then there was a blank lot, and in that blank lot was a bunch of trash, just a bunch of trash, and a hill behind it, a short hill, and then buildings on top of that. Well, at the base there of the hill, in that empty lot or full of trash, I couldn't tell if it was like a 50-gallon drum laying on its side or if it was a pipe that was coming out of the side of the hill there, like a drainage pipe. But it was stuffed full of trash, except for one thing. It had a black plastic bag, and it was at the top of the heap, stuffed in there. And I thought, oh, that's either her or her clothes.
Oh my!
And then the camera started moving again, and then it went to black. And so when it goes to black, that's it. That's the end of it. And so I said, please show me again, show me where she is, where is she? And, what gave it away is I said, she's got a little, like, birth defect on her eye. It looks like a crescent moon or something. And that's when they knew I was onto it, because that's what she had. And she's never been found, as far as I know. And
now, what's
anyway,
her name again? Was it Madeline or something?
I can't remember. It was so long ago. But they called me 3 times, and that was it. Again, like I said, they didn't give me any information at all. They didn't even tell me what I was supposed to be looking for. All they said was a missing person, and boom, that came in right away. But yeah, that's one thing that I've worked on. And unfortunately, they never found that empty lot. They looked and looked and looked. So it could have been in another country already, because I feel that they had taken her. She was a very hot property, and they had to get her out of the area as fast as they could. I feel like it's a botched, kidnapping. Like they just bit off more than they can chew, and they had to do something fast with her, unfortunately. But that little baby went back to heaven, so she's fine. If that's what happened. I hope she wasn't sold into slavery. But the last thing they showed me was that black bag, and it was kind of like soft, rounded lumps in it. So it made me think that's either her clothes or that's her body, and they've stuffed her in that trash can or in that pipe. So that's all I got,
Well, so, that was big news. I mean, there was a lot of controversy around it. They at one point even pointed fingers at the parents, and the parents apparently had left their children alone in the hotel while they went to have dinner. There was a lot of criticism towards the parents for doing that, and again, it was a big case. And again, I know a lot of mediums, and I know you do too, Patricia, that won't work with these kinds of cases. They won't work with murders and finding bodies. They won't work with this type of crime because they don't like to have those images burned into their brain. It's a very difficult thing to deal with, but you seem to handle it. So how do you handle it?
Who, me or Patricia?
You.
Me?
That's you.
For me, it's really hard because I don't just get the images. I feel what's going on. I can feel it. I can feel the movement. I can feel the feeling that person has that's aiming it towards the victim, or I can feel the victim sometimes, and it's really super hard on me. I get very sad. It's a horrific thing, and it just about makes me cry every time. Even thinking about it does it. So I don't like to do it unless I really am strong. I'm strong physically and mentally and all that, because when it happens, it's on, and so I kind of like mind tap the person, the perpetrator, or but see, it's a dangerous thing, because if they ever knew that it was me, if I give enough information and it's correct, and the police find whoever the person is and find them, find the evidence and all that, and have a closed case, somebody from that person that I found that accused of and found the information for it, they may come after me, or one of their partners or whatever, or their family or something, and I just can't. I don't want that kind of unrest looking over my shoulder all the time. Someone's going to get me for what I put somebody in prison for. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't do it, because it can be very dangerous. And I used to do children, help with children, but it is so awful that I just can't do it. I just can't do it. It takes too much out of me. I'm just flatlined after that. It's horrible. So yeah, that's why I don't do that anymore.
That's what I've heard from a lot of people who, were asked to work on these types of cases, and a lot of them did it once or twice and then said, that's it for me. I really can't handle it anymore.
Yeah.
So it is a tough thing, and yet it's so helpful to the police when they run into these dead ends. They don't know what else to do. So,
right.
I know
it kind of depends on what it is, But most of the time I'll just say no. I just can't do it. It's just too. And then I'm just very busy in my own practice, so I just don't have the time either. I have a lot of responsibility.
I think you have to have nerves of steel to be able to do that, and it's very hard because it's almost exactly the opposite of who people are as psychic mediums. They're sensitive. You're sensitive. So how do you shut that off? It's just next to impossible.
Yeah, it took me a long time to figure out how to do that, but I finally got enough. When I met this lady named Ann Blackwell when I was a senior in high school, and I was ready to put a rope around my neck because I just couldn't stop all these things coming to me night and day. It was like on 24/7, and she saw it in me. I never said a word. She saw it in me, and she started describing what she owned a bookstore in my little hometown, and I went into the bookstore after school, and I was looking around, and I hear somebody playing between the aisles and dropping books on the floor, and just giggling. There was a little girl like running around in there, and Anne was sitting behind the podium in one of those papasan chairs, reading a little book, and she says, "Do you hear that?" And I said, "Absolutely." And she goes, "Can you make her stop, or can you get them to stop?" And I said, "Little girl," and I went looking around for her, and I knew it was a spirit already. I just knew it. And so I heard her run into a cabinet and close the door to like hide and seek. So I walked over to the cabinet and I opened it up and I stuck my head in there, and you could see along the wall all the way down, and she wasn't in there. And then she says, "How long have you had this?" And I said, "Have what?" And I was like really pretending like I didn't know what I was talking about. So I started backing up. Heading for the door because she kept saying, "No, listen, I have it too." I'm going, "I'm sorry, I don't know what you mean." I'm starting to train. Anyway, she talked me into staying, and she described these things to me. And now I finally had a vocabulary for it. So she was telling me what I was seeing and doing. And I was so convinced from her because she had a little group of women, there was 3 of them with her in it. She asked me to join an evening with them and that they were going to meditate and sit around a table and meditate. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And I already knew how to meditate. See, but I didn't know what meditation was. I was doing it automatically. I just didn't know what it was called. Right. So I'm sitting at this table, and we write on a piece of paper. This is good for your listeners. You write on a piece of paper some images, and then you fold it and put it in your pocket, and it's an exercise. And so everybody does that around the table, and they hide them. Then you go into meditation, and then when you're real clear deep down in your meditation, try to send those images to anyone in that circle, people. And when you come out of it, you start saying, well, what did you see? Well, I saw, a rolling hill full of wildflowers, and somebody will say, yep, here it is right here, and so you kind of practice that way. Well, this one time when I went under, I saw this blue flame coming out of the back of my neck, and I'm deep in meditation, and this blue flame begins to rise out of my neck, and then I see the back of my head. And then all of a sudden, I'm up at the ceiling looking down at all 4 of us, and there's a candle in the middle of the table burning. Well, Anne was sitting to my right, and Anne all of a sudden raises her head, looks at me, looks right up at me at the ceiling, and gives me a big smile, and then goes back to her meditation. So when we all came out of it, and we were describing what we were sending, what we got, she says, what else did you get, George? And I said, oh, that's all I got. I think she goes, think a little bit more. And I said, oh, hey, you know what? And then I told her what I experienced, that I saw her smiling at me, and I was up there on the ceiling. So, she really helped me to understand the physiology and some of the terms for all these things. And yeah, she was an instrumental part in helping me with
what
this
a great
stuff.
mentor that you had with her. That's excellent. Well, we're going to take a short break and give you a chance to get a sip of water, and we're going to come right back. If you have a question for George, please call in at 646-478-0828. Again, that number is 646-478-0828. Again, we've got lots of questions coming in the chat room, and everybody stay tuned to this fascinating conversation with psychic medium George Lugo and my great co-host, Patricia Kirkman. We are going to be right back.
This is Veronique Raskin, founder of the Organic Wine Company. As one of the pioneers of the organic wine movement, since 1980 I have brought you the very best and most authentic organic wines directly to your table. I work with small family estates who grow certified organic grapes and produce exceptional wines. You can purchase our wines individually from our website at theorganicwinecompany.com or join one of our wine clubs. Our organic wines are perfect for you and for your family as gifts for friends and relatives, and they are simply spectacular for the holidays. Visit us at theorganicwinecompany.com to enjoy the very best organic wines conveniently delivered to your door. I am Veronique Raskin, passionate about my mission. I offer to you vegan, organic, and biodynamic wines, wines made by people of the heart, wines with a heart. Au revoir. Call us at 1-888-ECO-WINE.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to find out and how to fix it. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy Attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the source. With cosmic fusion, the source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.KOSMICfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
everyone. We are having a fascinating discussion with our guest tonight, psychic medium George Lugo, and, of course, my great co-host, Patricia Kirkman. So, George, tell everybody, please, how they can reach you, because I know there are people that would like to have a reading with you. How can they arrange that?
Sure. They can go to crystalgatereadings.com, or they can go to georgelugo.com. No hyphen in the middle. It's all lowercase .com. And that's, or they can just call me. It's 505-819-7249. And schedule an appointment.
Excellent.
Yeah. Can I plug Patricia Kirkman just for a second? Just
you
because
better.
I think she's, this woman is absolutely amazing. She has the cream of the crop. She's got this psychic fair in Tucson, Arizona, Mystic Messengers, and she will not let anybody in there unless they can prove what they do, and you know what I mean? They have to be well-versed in what they do. So when you go there, you're getting quality. You're really getting great readers, healers, vendors. They're all the best. So anyone that is listening out there, if you ever get around to Tucson, I think it's like the first Sunday of every month. Is that right, Patricia?
Yep, that's right.
And make sure you speak with Patricia, because she is one hot commodity. You know what I mean? She just knows what she's doing. She's right on the money. And I'm very proud to be associated with her. And she's a lifetime friend.
Two-way street, sweetheart. I very much appreciate you. We have shared many a story and many a oh my gods together over the years.
Yeah, we have. Yeah. Patricia called me one time and she had lost her, was it a wallet or keys or something like that?
I couldn't find keys to something, to the safe.
Yeah, something like that. And so, she called me, she says, hey, where's my blah, blah, blah? And the first image that comes in my mind, I told her, and then she found it. And there was one that involved a matchbook. A matchbook, wasn't there? A matchbox, and there was something in it.
In it. That's right.
Yeah.
We had my mother's pendant, diamond pendant in it.
Yeah,
I didn't know where I put it. The box was empty, and I didn't know where the pendant went.
Oh
right.
my goodness!
And that's things like
God,
that.
He's kept me out of harm's way over the years.
Thank you.
But I did save his butt on occasion or two, also. So I guess it's okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. She has. Yeah, she's a great listener and got great advice, and very powerful woman.
The best numerologist anywhere.
You bet.
That's right.
You bet. Yeah, absolutely.
You sweet talkers, you're making me feel fabulous.
You are fabulous. You're amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That's right.
You have such
only because of the people I'm with.
Well, you know how to pick them.
Make all of this works wonders. Yeah, we do, don't we?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Patricia Baker has been a delight.
Walks on water. Ladies and gentlemen, this lady walks on water. She's amazing. What energy she has. Every time I talk to her, she's just so upbeat, very positive, has something important to say. She's great. Absolutely great.
Well,
the nice thing is she has taught me so many things that, you think you know how to do all these different things, and all of a sudden she'll just very like, try this or do this, and I'm going, oh, well, what about that? She's going to make me turn what I do more professional than I have ever thought I could.
Yeah,
well,
she's really amazing.
Skyping now. Woohoo!
Yay!
Yeah.
Now we can see each other. And someday I'm going to figure out how we can all see each other on Skype while we're on the show, so that we can see each other rather than talk over each other. Because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but we all call into a board where we can't see each other, so it's very difficult sometimes not to talk over each other. We do a pretty good job, though, I think.
Yeah, we are. We're pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are there any questions for me? I mean, I have
we've got a whole bunch of them, George.
Okay,
so
fire away.
This one is coming up a lot in the chat room. People want to know if you have any suggestions for people that want to be open to spirit like you are. What do you suggest?
I would have to kind of know what their background is, but whatever your belief system is, you can use that, or use your gut, use your intuition. Mm-hmm. Trust your process. If you're getting what you feel are sensitive things, see, we're all born with a frequency and a vibration. So some are more sensitive than others. And so in growing up, you'll notice what those things are. So if you're seeing spirit or hearing them, or, go with it. Don't be afraid of it. Just jump into it. You can't force it. Sometimes I've noticed that in my own life that lessons come to me in a different way, and they just become a part of me. And then pretty soon it shows up in my reading what I've learned without hearing a word, in a sense. It's kind of hard to describe, but there's this knowledge that gets into you when you're on this path. And once you start this path, you almost can never go back. I mean, think about what you listeners out there, think about your own journey, where you are in your journey. And it's almost impossible to erase that, and to look back. So just embrace it, welcome it, allow it to happen to you. Let that flow go through you, and it will make itself apparent in what you're doing. But basically, trust yourself. Trust your instincts, trust your intuition. If you're a reader, if you just pick up on things, investigate it, and see where it goes. But trust it. You got to trust it. If you don't trust it, it'll start getting kind of weak and start backing off a little bit. But when you trust that intuition, it's usually right. That first thought is usually right. So kind of think of it that way. You know what I mean? So, and then do whatever you can to exercise.
Yeah,
you
I
can
always
go down that road.
I'll say, it's like when you travel down a road, the head says, "Oh, there's your corner," and this little voice inside goes, and you'll still make that corner. Then you have to back up and come back out and start all over again. Don't be afraid to test that part of it. That's how you'll learn.
Right. And don't worry about what other people say to you. Just stay true to your path. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm not reading you. I'm reading for you. So when you guys are doing this kind of work, you're not, skeptics, I welcome skeptics. I like skeptics. I think you should be skeptical when you go see someone who says they can do what they say they do. And for me, when I get someone who's real skeptical, I just go, oh, okay, it's okay. I'll tell you what, I'm going to turn my back. I'm going to turn my chair around, and I have a high back chair, so I'm going to turn my chair around and still give you the reading. And they kind of like, okay. And so I'll do that. And the outcome is still great. I mean, they still get their reading, and they're, because they'll sit there and cross their arms or cross their legs in their arms and kind of look, up at you with their eyes, like, and raise an eyebrow, like, oh, come on, really? I said, okay, let me just turn around. The only thing I do not like is cynicism, when they're real cynical. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I do not do anymore because of experience is read for people that have been drinking, because things come in. Yeah, things will come in that'll hit a nerve, and they get irate, or they flip out, or they're like suicidal, all of a sudden, or they're swearing up and down that person's name, and that person is trying to come in and apologize. And and I had one lady that was already 2 bottles of champagne ahead before I got there. And so when I got there, she was smashed, and it was a real long drive to get there, way out in the middle of nowhere. And her husband was there, and so she got really belligerent. I mean, what I was saying was accurate, but she was just so upset about some of the things that happened in her life, and why would that, blah, 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 come back into my life and try to apologize again. And they'll try to stump me, like, okay, then how did he die? I say, well, he put a gun to his head, and he shot himself, through the bottom of his jaw and right out the top of his head. And she goes, how do you know that? And I said, well, he's showing it to me. He's showing me what you want to see, and so, images will come across like that. But really try to stay away from people that are altered states, not because anything, that you're doing for them, because you're reading for them, you're not reading them. And souls will come through. It's precious time. You don't have a whole lot of time with these souls. So they come in, they deliver their messages, and you give it to them straight. Try not to read the mail, just deliver it. That's another little thing. Yeah, just give it to them the way you see it. Don't try to filter it. Just give it to them. Don't be afraid of what you may say. Oh, another thing is that it may come out extremely abstract. There might be like this golden spike stuck in the mud, with a Coke can next to it. It makes no sense to you, but give it to them, because they're going to say, oh, my God, that is, whatever. And that validates the reading. That's what you're looking for. That's the main thing about all readings, validation. You got to validate. It's got to be factual, something that your client is that they only know and no one else knows. That's one way to do it. You just have to be you have to just trust yourself, really trust yourself. Don't be afraid. And if you shut down, like some of the ones that are kind of just starting now, if you're a medium and you're starting out, if you're sitting in front of somebody and you begin to sweat and you feel like you're not in the zone and all that, don't be afraid to say, hey, look, you know what, I'm just not feeling it right now. Whatever you do not lie to them, or bend it around, because you're messing with someone's life who's coming to you, for a real reading, and they expect the best of you. So please, if you're not feeling it, when in doubt, lay out, and so, or if you're got this mental block, maybe it started out okay for a little bit, then all of a sudden it's gone. Don't freak out, just because what you end up doing, you think that person's judging you now, that's sitting in front of you. You just have to clear your mind, drop it all, and then start over again, and just do it, and you'll be okay. You'll be fine. Just trust yourself. And I tell you something, these souls that come to you, if you're not true in what you're doing, they will stop. They will not come to you if you're not doing the right thing. So it's very important to do that. There's a lot of other things I could tell you about, but it gets too much detail. But there's just a lot of things that souls can do, and they help you. They help you.
Here's another question for you, George, from the chat room. People want to know: do you use any crystals in your reading room? I mean, I know you must have a room set up for this. Do you use crystals at all?
I don't use any tools of any kind, although I do have crystals that I just love, but I have a few of them in my room. I have my office set up that's comfortable for me and comfortable for the client, and I don't have posters all over the place and things like that. It's pretty just kind of, they're all gifts. Everything I have in my room is gifts from people, and I display them proudly, and I just say thank you. But I don't use any tools of any kind. I don't use crystals. I don't use pendulums. I don't use cards. That's the difference. Let me tell you something about that. There are psychics. Everyone is psychic. Everyone, period. Even your animals are. And so we're all psychic. But mediumship's a different animal. We talk to the dead. Psychics usually use tools, and some that are really good at it can skirt the edge of mediumship and get a few hits. Mm-hmm. But to talk to them directly, that's a medium thing. But there's no medium. You can't be a medium without being a psychic first. So, and I kind of believe that you're born a medium, not made a medium. But you can, I know that's going to ruffle some feathers, but you can. There's some exceptions. Near-death experience, people that have gone through that, when they come back from that, from that, all of a sudden they've got these extra gifts that they never knew they had, and it kind of dogs them for a while until they figure it out. Anything like that. But people that are real strong psychics, can develop it to the point of sticking their fingers into mediumship and grabbing some really good hits. There's some excellent. Some psychics that use tools eventually drop their tools when they've gotten that good. They end up, because they figured that's more of a crutch for them than anything else, and they just drop their tools and go straight into mediumship. So, you got to be real developed for that. But, so no, I don't use any tools, but I do love crystals, and I do have a lot of. I lived in Arizona, man. I had a lot of crystals, a lot of beautiful. Patricia does too. She's got a billion of them.
It's important. It's not that anything that I have that I use to do anything with. It's just it's relaxing and pleasurable for me to be around. Yeah,
absolutely. They also give, certain crystals will make you feel energized. They'll heighten your level of who you are.
Right.
Be careful of having too many crystals around you, because they do that. They have an effect on you. And for me, they have a tremendous effect on me. So I have to kind of I only have a few, around me at one time, because I do feel them. Okay.
Now, you were beginning to share also an experience with reading for homeless people, because you talked about you reading for royalty and also CEOs and monks. Now, and what happens?
Well,
how do you encounter these folks, and what happens?
Well, for instance, I used to take my children out to the desert when I lived in Tucson, to this private school, and on the way there, I would drive underneath this overpass. and there was like, man, 30, 40 of these homeless guys that are sitting on the sides underneath the overpass. And I always, when I went through there, before I could even get there, I could just feel a lot of sadness and sorrow and all that kind of stuff, and anger and all that. So one day, I after doing this for a couple of years, taking my kids to school, on the way back, I thought, I'm going to pull over and I'm going to talk to these guys. I'll either get killed or they'll accept it. so I just pulled over. Yeah, so I pulled over, and what I found was they were extremely receptive. I mean, a lot of them are really drunk, and because they were freezing that night, and they're trying to get warm. This is about 7 in the morning or so. So once I talked to a couple of guys, and they started like lining up, and I was there until I had to pick my kids up at 3:30. And a great majority of those guys were ex-soldiers, and I have a real thing for military. And so I felt really great to be there to help them with that. And they all had their stories, but the people that came in for them, that have been wondering where they are and hope that they're doing okay, and a lot of forgiveness involved. And it was like a gigantic healing. And these guys were living down by the river, and they would come up and get underneath the overpass and, build little fires and try to keep warm and all that. But, man, so that's how I give back. And sometimes somebody on the street, I don't recommend you just walking up to anybody and saying, "Hey, let me read for you." It's kind.
God.
Yeah,
that's scary when people do that.
Yeah, because you don't know what you're going to get, and they might be totally against it, or they may be, receptive. So, for instance, I was in a video store a long time ago, and I was in the aisle looking through videos, and I noticed somebody that was next to me, probably about 10 feet away, and I didn't know if it was a man or a woman. They were all dressed in black, and they were squatting down at the bottom shelf, looking for their DVD, and I'm standing there, and then I glanced over again, and there was this man standing behind her, and he had this really round pot belly sticking out with a black T-shirt on, partial tattoo sticking out of his sleeve, and he had kind of like Elvis hair kind of pulled out in the front, and jeans and a black T-shirt, and he had his hand over this girl's. It was a girl. He had his one hand over her head, like he was stroking her hair, but he wasn't touching her. But there was light between his hand and her head, and he looked at me, and all this happens in a split second, but it's the knowing that you receive. So I just said, in this case, I felt like I could say something to her because I had a lot of knowledge about what was around her, and I just said, "Excuse me, there was a man standing behind you." She goes, "Where?" And I said, then I began to say, "He looked like this," and she started crying. She goes, "That's my father," and I said, "Well, he's saying that there's nothing to forgive, to take the foil off the windows, get your computer fixed, get back to writing, and clean up your house, and it's not your fault." And so what had happened was, she told me that she got into a big old fight with her dad. He left her apartment and died 2 hours later. So she blamed herself because she was hammering him with what a crappy life she has, and she was blaming him for it. And so he walked away and had a heart attack. And and so she had been carrying this around for, I think it was like a year and a half. So in that case, it really helped her, and she was crying kind of hysterically in the aisle, and the manager comes over and says, "Is this man bothering you?" and she gave me a hug. She goes, "No, he's with me. It's okay," and all this. And I said, "Thanks," So, but in that particular case, I felt it was okay to go up to that person because I saw someone standing there and give me all that information instantly. So that was an exception. But I don't just walk up to anybody because I feel something, because you don't know what you're going to get. You might get somebody who will just lash back at you. You don't want to put yourself in that situation.
Yeah, you're right. And I've also heard that it's really not all that ethical to do that on a regular basis without really checking in to see if it's the right thing to do, because some people feel it's invasive. They don't really want to hear it.
Right.
That's right. They don't want to hear it.
That's why it's so important to ask.
That's right. So when people come to me, they're usually ready, to hear something or, get some kind of messages. So they're usually ready for it. And for me, it's mainly just, word of mouth. And I'm like, I guess, known all over the world because I have people coming to me all the time from everywhere. So that's kind of how it is for me. Is there any other questions about the mediumship
what
thing
about
that people want to...
working with business people like CEOs of corporations? How do you find that?
Yeah, I find that amazing. I've worked with, I don't know if should I mention the company names or should I not?
You can if you have, if you're okay with that. Sure, it's up to you.
Yeah, they don't. I won't mention who they are. But I've worked with Walmart. I've worked with Texas Instruments. I've worked with Exxon. I've worked with a whole bunch of different companies, and that have come to me because of a business thing. For instance, there was Texas Instruments. They're in Malaysia, and the man that the CEO, the guy that owned the whole thing and all that, passed away and left it all to his sister in charge. And she gave me a call, and out of the blue, and wanted to know some things. So I told her all these things, and they happened exactly. I was guided. It wasn't my prediction. I was guided by her brother who had passed. And just to verify it, I asked her some things, and he's saying this and he's saying that. Does that ring true for you? She goes, absolutely. She goes, that is my brother. And I said, okay, well, he's saying this, do that. And it worked out for them. So, yeah, like that. Sometimes it's a business deal, to say like, hey, I'm getting ready to buy, blah, 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 and this, should I do it or not? And I'll say yes or no. I'll get a gut feeling like immediately, and I'll tell them, and it's usually right on the money. I would say I have about a 99% success rate with that. So
that's great.
98, 99.
Even when you were reading from me, George, about my biological father, what I really appreciate about you is that you don't ask me a million questions. And a lot of mediums do that.
I don't.
And you don't do that. You basically just tell it like you see it. And this is how it is. That's how it is. And you'll ask me do you understand what I'm saying, or is this something you relate to? But you're not asking me for any information.
Yeah. See, I don't want to be led. That's why I don't want to know anybody's name. Just your first name. Just to, that's all I really need. Whether it's over the phone or in person. And I like it that way because that way, when that soul's coming through, they're coming through with real information. And I don't know anything about you. I don't even know your last name. So it's just how it came through. And like for your dad, I could feel it. I could feel what he was trying to come through with, and I just delivered it to you the way I was seeing it and feeling it. And I usually will tell my client, just give me a yes, no, and I understand. Don't elaborate. Don't say anything. Let me just do this. And it allows them to give you a clearer picture of what's going on. But if you want to tell me, yeah, that is my father, or yeah, he did used to wear this, or he had that, that's okay. But just to verify what I'm saying is accurate. But don't tell me anything else. Okay, go ahead.
Right, and I think that's really, again, a testament to your talent and your ability to get on those frequencies and read them accurately. Now, another question about pets. Do you, when you read for people, encounter people's pets that have passed?
Absolutely, man. Pets are part of our family, and they have consciousness. I was doing a reading for a group of about 30 people one night, and I was getting some hits in the front, and I'm telling these people what they do, and who's coming through for them. But I kept getting pulled to the far back of the room, the last seat in the corner, and I kept seeing these 7 horses standing around this guy, and I could see like partial front leg, their chest, and their heads, and they were all kind of in a semicircle around this man. And when you look at this man, he looked like an office geek, parted hair, the black glasses, the pocket protector, the pastel yellow short sleeve shirt, very kind of geeky looking. And like an engineer, very thin, that kind of thing. And he's just sitting there real quiet. And then I just stopped what I was doing. I said, sir, I just have to mention this to you. I see 7 horses around you. And the guy just started crying. I mean, the guy cried so loud. It was just like, just bawled his head off. And so, his story was that his brother raced horses for a living. And after a certain period of time, they pull him off the rouster and they put him out to, pasture. So this brother was sending these horses out to a place called Pomerane, that's in Arizona. It's southeast of Tucson. So he was getting all his brother's race horses that were winners. And so he had 7 of them. And he didn't quite know what to do with them. He wasn't a horse guy, so he just kept them as pets. And he had a lot of land. Well, he had this tree line in the distance where there was always water running through there. So the horses would run out there and get in the shade where it's cool and drink water and hang out there during the day. Well, one morning he went out on his deck and he whistled for them and they didn't come. And so he honked his horn on his truck and they didn't come. So then he drove out there to find all of them dead. Somebody had poisoned all his horses and killed them all. Yeah.
Oh, how horrible.
Yeah, and he wanted to, and that's what I saw. I saw these 7 horses standing, healthy, wonderful, full of just light, these horses. And he was happy to know that they were still there and that they were still with him. So pets, absolutely. Yeah, pets have consciousness.
And were they able to tell you who poisoned them?
No, it was just that. The guy was almost inconsolable. I mean, he was just crying so hard. But they turned into like happy tears, He didn't. Lots of times that's a good point. A lot of times when people cross over, most of us have a messy death due to a heavy illness or a traffic accident, or you fall out of your helicopter or something. It's something. It's always something kind of terrible, right? So they don't care about that so much. Once that part of it's over, the crossing part is over, they usually don't care. And a lot of times it doesn't hurt them. And a lot of times, I'll tell you something else that I know, and I've gotten this many times. When, let's say someone is hit by a car walking along the road, and they get hit by a car, right before impact, there is a soul that will come in. Souls can see ahead, and they're much, much faster. They're faster moving than we are. And I've seen these grandparents or these dead fathers or mothers pull that person's soul out right before impact so they don't have to feel it. And they're killed on impact. But their soul has been taken out so they won't have to feel it. And it's taken out by a loved one, or it's taken out by like an angel, or it's taken out by a higher being. And that's happened a lot. And so
now, there was a movie that was it basically was like that with Warren Beatty and Julie Christie, and I'm trying to think of the name of it. Do you know which movie I'm talking about?
Heaven Can Wait. Heaven Can Wait,
Heaven
right?
Can Wait.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Yeah, I don't remember that, but yeah, that's
exactly that. Yeah, he was riding his bicycle through a tunnel and got hit head on, but they took him out too soon. Was the premise. It was a great
I see.
movie.
They took him out too soon. Yeah, well, that happens in real life, and that happens to a lot of souls that before impact they're taken out, and then because they know it's going to be unstoppable and they know what the outcome is, and they're a good person and someone loves you and they just keep you from having to suffer and they just pull you right out when they know that there's not going to be anything, there's no way of recouping.
Back from this. Yeah.
No coming back. It's a one-way street. Yeah. So souls work for. That's another thing. If you feel somebody's in the room with you and there's nobody there, that's a soul listening to your voice. So say you're washing the dishes, you're thinking about buying a car, then you begin to talk yourself out of it because of finances and whatever, and then you get that swelling feeling like someone's in the room with you, but there's nobody home. We go to our psychological mind and we go, oh, did somebody pull in my driveway? Is somebody in my backyard? And then we forget about what the car. We go back to washing dishes and thinking about something else. Always try and remember what you were thinking about when you get that sensation, because that is a soul listening to your thoughts, and they're trying to push you forward with the idea. So let's say it's a car. So they're telling you, go ahead. Look for that car. Since you're on the physical side here on the planet, since you're in the physical world, we got to go look for it. We got to make phone calls. We got to talk to someone. Well, you know that better than anyone. You know what I mean, Patricia, because of your husband's work. So you got to do all the legwork. What the souls do, they're letting you know by chiming in like that they're going to jump ahead of you and open that door of opportunity for you. And they do it with your health, your wealth, everything. They listen. They're not allowed to change your life path, but they are allowed to nudge you into the right direction. So that's really important. So since we're on the physical side, it's really important, people that are sensitive, psychics and mediums and just normal people, that you follow the signs. You don't have to get all crazy about it, but when you feel it in your heart, you feel it in your gut that it's the right move to do, that's usually a soul trying to help you move forward. Again, they cannot change your life path because there's a little crossroads where you have to make the decision yourself. But they do that, so be open to that.
Also, George, when we're talking about this, when people get the feeling that there's somebody next to them or has just passed them, and they go to move to try to see it, their movement of being too fast, they miss what that is, but there is that image of someone around them.
Sure.
And is there a way that people can slow themselves down enough to pick up more of an information about what they're feeling?
Absolutely. Get out of your head. Use your heart. Feel it, because then you'll feel their love. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you'll get like a direct response from them. You'll get you may end up smelling them. You may end up knowing that it's your mother or your father or some uncle. It just depends, or a friend, that has something to do with what you're thinking about, is coming through saying, hey, listen, do that. I'll open that door for you. I'll bring it around, so you have to recognize it. Also, what souls will do, so get out of your head. Don't use your head so much. Don't try to figure out who it is that's trying to connect with you. Use your heart. Drop down to your heart and feel that. Kind of go neutral and just feel who that might be trying to tell you to move forward. That's really important. But that's a real good way to do it. So you may see a little glimpse in peripheral vision. You'll see like somebody moving for a second, that kind of thing. And eventually, if you trust that usually starts coming forward and more forward. And pretty soon it's like you can almost like see it in front of you. And people that are, working towards, being a stronger psychic or a medium, eventually it'll be like watching a movie. It'll be right in front of you, and you need to pay attention to that, to the detail. And sometimes this information comes in so fast that you'll get a glimpse of it, but you kind of write it off to thinking that's a random thought.
Exactly.
Try to pay attention to some of those things because they have there's a little mark on them that tells you, no, this is for real. Another thing, if you want to connect yourself with someone who's crossed over, you don't need me. You can do it yourself, and the best way to do it is early in the morning when you first wake up. It's usually because you got to go to the bathroom, right? So you go to the bathroom, get back in bed. You got to get up. You're in your nice, warm, comfortable bed, and you just put whoever you want to visit with, put them in your mind's eye, and then go back to sleep. Start drifting off back to sleep. The reason why they like to visit at that time of morning is because that your dream stage is very close to your awake stage because you just got up to go do your thing and come back. So it's a very easy shift. So when you go into your dream stage again, it's like an inch away. So keep that image of the person you want. Say it's your mother, and you see her in your mind's eye. Feel the love you have for your mother. Ask one question. Just ask, do you have a question for me? And when you see her, she's going to give you that. She'll look at you and just give you like an instant knowing. She'll answer that question immediately. But what you need to pay attention to is her. Like, first of all, know that you're visiting with her and that it's not a dream, because she'll know that, and then you can stay a little longer. So when you see your mother, notice her age, what she's wearing, her surroundings, and what she might be pointing to. Because sometimes they'll point to a wall with writing on it. They'll let you read the first 2 or 3 words, and then it turns into some other language you can't read because it's not meant for you to know now. But in your awake stage, it will happen at some point. So, and when it does, you'll go, wow, that came out of nowhere, and that's amazing. I'm so happy that happened. Gee, And then all of a sudden, you'll say you're in your car, they'll turn on the radio, and there's a song that is associated with your mom that you'll go, oh, thanks, Mom. It was your mom that brought that to you. It's the message your mom brought to you. Or you can hear her name being called in the public, or you might see it on a billboard or a street sign. It's all kinds of ways they usually sign off on their big messages. And sometimes they'll give you little messages, little hints here and there. Sometimes they'll come back as a red robin, or they're not a robin, but say they like robins in life, and all of a sudden you're just seeing like all these robins everywhere. It's not them; they didn't come back as a robin. It's just that she's just sending them to you just to make you happy, to make you smile, to make you think of her. Lots of times souls... Yeah, lots of times souls will chime in. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just have one more question for you from the chat room. Somebody's asking, why do some spirits come by way of scent or fragrance instead of another way?
Because you'll recognize it.
That very question.
Yeah, because you'll recognize it. That's just that simple reason, because you'll recognize it. And when you recognize it, trust it and talk to them. You know, you don't have to go through any ritual to talk to a soul. You don't have to put a bone in your nose and hop around the living room. You can just sit there and just talk to them as if they're in the room with you. You know, be familiar.
I don't want to remember.
Yeah, so you know, you don't have to do anything. I mean, you can pray if you want, all that, but if they're giving you that kind of sign, if you get a scent or a smell, it could even be an animal smell. Sometimes your animals will do that. Oh, that's another thing about animals. Say you have 3 dogs, one of them passes. Watch your other 2 dogs when you guys are like resting, watching TV, or, you know, if they pick their heads up, all of a sudden they're tracking something moving across the room. You know, their eyes will be at the level of the dog that's passed. Or if it's a cat, they might be staring up at the mantle over the fireplace that they used to perch on, you know. So animals can see these things. They're really good at that. I've had animals run up on a corner and start growling, you know, and because something's there that's menacing, and then it kind of dissipates. I had this one dog that was a chow, and it was sitting laying in the middle of the room, kind of curled up, and it started moving. You know, it was like I could see the fur being compressed, and then all of a sudden it just jumped up and just went rah, and just took off. All its fur was sticking up. I mean, it was scared to death. There was something in the room that spooked it. So animals are very perceptive, really perceptive on things like that. So trust them; they're great.
What we used to have, you know, because my husband used to smoke cigars, and George and I have talked at different times. All of a sudden, I'll walk into a room and I could smell the cigar smoke because I made him smoke outside. But now that he's gone, I get to smoke inside periodically. And I'm going, I'm getting even. I'm going to do it if I want to.
Yeah, that's right. They will do things like that.
Yeah.
They will just to let you know they're around, you know, and whatever that means to you. If it feels like protection for you, that's what it is. If it feels like he's being nosy, well, that's what it is. So, you know, it's just, yeah, you know.
I moved his chair.
yeah, there you go, you know, and so they can react like that. But souls follow us. I mean, they're watching in on us all the time. You know, they're not interested in what you're doing in your bedroom or in the shower. They're interested in your life. They visit us for birthdays, deaths, marriages, newborns, you know, an event that happens in your life. They try to come in and help us. Sometimes we get really bogged down with you know, our personal issues with business and things like that. You know, try to relax and just let them come in because they're always watching over us and trying to help us, you know, and they do it by nudging. And they just have to be open-minded and feel it. You know, get out of your head. Our heads are some of the worst things because they just tangle us up in all this stuff, and you end up painting yourself into a corner. Use your heart. You know, drop down to your heart when you feel confused in things, and just ask. And they usually will come through and bring things to you. Like if you have a goal in mind that you just feel like you can never get to, and you can't find a way to do it, and what they'll usually do is they will bring somebody into your life who's a real person, but is holding the answer to help you get to your goal. And they'll just go like, hey, Patricia, you know, I don't need this anymore. Here, maybe you can use it. And they kind of leave, you know, and you don't even really know them, you know, but they're just trying to help. And all of a sudden, boom, you're at your goal. Okay, one thing I want to talk about that's kind of important. If you're doing this type of work, mediumship, or you're a psychic, you know, working really hard, be careful, you know, about your intentions. Really learn your craft really well, really good, because there are things that you can bring into this world that you can't get rid of. And if you hear knocking, like right in midair, and I've had this happen because I go out with ghost investigators occasionally. It's not really my thing, but I'll do it occasionally. And right in the midair, you'll hear this boom, 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 like someone pounding on a box or somebody pounding on a wall.
What is that?
That's totally demonic. That is something trying to manifest that could hurt you or harm you or if your equipment, all your batteries drain real fast. That could be somebody that's there. That's a whole different ball of wax. But I've been in a lot of those, and they are very, very real. And don't provoke, because they're just looking at you like you're an idiot, and they're just waiting for the chance to hurt you.
Right.
You
That's
know,
right.
and
but down
yeah.
to the sources. I've had somebody ask me also to ask you, George, when we on the air, Ouija boards. Are they safe to play with?
No, not really. I mean, you kind of have to, before you use one, find out the history, what they're, how to use them and the proper way to use them, because you can open up a door you can't close, especially with children. Children, it's
right.
a fun thing. It's spooky. It's, let's do this. And, but you can open up some stuff that you can't close, and it'll dog you. It'll follow you around, especially if you're weak or sick or have emotional issues. You don't want to mess with those, because there's something that might be a little on the evil side that is trying to find a host. And when you're doing that and allowing yourself to get into that zone, and you're not a healthy person mentally sometimes, if you're having some, hardships or whatever, they'll go right into you, or they'll go right into your room, and you'll be okay. But the room has all of a sudden got company, and you can't get rid of them. And you don't want that.
I've never been fond of anything like that, but they asked me, and I said, well, how do you know? And I said, well, because of how I personally feel about them. But they said, ask George. So I meant to ask you this once before when we were talking.
Yeah. Well, I know because I worked with one when I was a kid, and it opened up things in my room that I could never. It would move on its own. I'd be doing my homework, and there's something moving in the background, and I could never figure out what it was. And then I looked over, and this one time I saw it moving, and I just went, holy crap, this is not good. and I ended up having growling at night when I'm trying to sleep in the room. I hear things scurrying across the floor. Until this day, that house has been sold 2 or 3 times now, right? And that room, whoever bought that house cannot stay in that room. That room is usually kept empty or kept for storage, but nobody will sleep in it because he can't. It opened up a door. Thank God it stayed there. You know what I mean? But,
it didn't
I
follow
lived in
you.
it. Yeah, that's right.
Don't you feel guilty for what you brought in?
Yeah. I mean, if I could figure a way to send it back, I would. But I got to tell you, I work with these different, paranormal investigators, and this one particular time, I had just gotten into town, and I was looking for, somewhere to do readings and that kind of thing. And so I came across this one group, and they were telling me, they had me go on a few of their investigations. And this one time I went on one, and it was the first one with them, and they had an ovilus. You know what an ovilus is? It's a voice generator. It's got a vocabulary of about 2,500 words in it.
Yeah.
And if there's a ghost around it, it can speak through it. It's usually one word, sometimes 2 if you're lucky. Anyway, I looked at that thing really well, put it down, kept it next to me because I wanted to make sure nobody was messing with me or messing with it. Well, when they turned it on and it sort of like booted up, it was sitting there and it said Mitch. And the lead investigator was a female, and she says, Mitch is not here. And then a few minutes later, Mitch. No, Mitch is not here. So I must have said it about 5 or 6 times, and finally she said, Mitch is not coming back. Quit asking. And so it did. It stopped asking. So when the whole thing was over, I asked her, I said, who's Mitch? And she goes, oh, well, Mitch was an investigator. He had been with this for about 7 years. And this is the place where it happened. And I'm going, oh, great. What are you going to tell me now? So she said that, Mitch was a seasoned investigator, and this time he must have been not healthy or not feeling good or just not being cautious enough. So when Mitch got done with the investigation that night, he lived about 50 minutes away, she said, and he got home, went into his bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, not to wake up his girlfriend, and then his girlfriend was dead asleep. He's taking off his shoes and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden she comes flying over the top of him, slammed on the floor, and she's being scratched and bitten all over her body, and he's grabbing at nothing, and he can't hang on to her. She's being yanked away every time he tries to grab her.
Oh, how scary.
And he said it lasted about 30 seconds. He said it seemed like an hour because he was punching at nothing. He didn't get hurt, but she had bite marks all over her ankles, the inside of her thighs, her back, scratches everywhere. So he quit. When she came out of it, she was scared to death, and she just says, I'm done. I'm not living with you anymore. I'm done with this stuff and all this. And so he said, okay, I'm done too. So he quit the whole thing. But it's very real. So be careful when you go out there. Protect yourself. Make sure you're in the light. Make sure that you surround yourself with light. And you can say it in your mind. Nothing can touch me. Y'all stay here. When you leave an investigation, just tell them, y'all stay here. I'm going home. This is your place. You stay here. And you can use whatever you want to seal it with. But, it's very real, so you got to be careful. A lot of people think it's really cool and all that kind of stuff. It's a double-edged sword. When
it
you're
is more than that, too, I think. I think it's, when people go to these places and they're calling it out. And you're right. A lot of people don't know what they're doing. They think this is fun. They see it on television. And they want to go try it for themselves. And they're not equipped. And so they are opening the door to other things happening to them or their loved ones that are going to be unpleasant. So, I always caution people the same way you don't even do it. Don't go there unless you really know
what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even without provocation, you still can bring things to you. There's something hungry that just wants to attach itself to you. It can relate to your vibration. It can relate to your energy, and it'll connect with you, and it'll go home with you. So it's always important when you leave one of those kind of investigations that, hey, you all stay here. If you're on me, get off me. Just stay here.
Right.
I'm going home. Yeah, I'm clean, and I'm out of here. So that's
right.
You got to do that. What's that?
That's great advice, George. George, this has been just so wonderful, and you've been so generous with your time, staying overtime with us for the show, and my gosh, great adventures, and thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome.
But
thank you. I appreciate you. Go ahead.
Please tell everybody again how to reach you.
Oh, okay. Well, my name is George Lugo, Lugo, and you can reach me at crystalgatereadings.com or georgelugo.com, all lowercase, no hyphen in the middle of the names. And my number is 505-819-7249. Oh, also, I want to make one mention.
Sure.
If you guys take this as a career, be ready for people that will constantly call you. I mean, I had to change I have an unlisted number because I get people. Yeah, I get people will call me at 2:30 in the morning asking me, "Hey, where are my car keys?" Or
I've got just one question, and you're going,
yeah.
Can't even wake up.
Yeah, and you can't get them off the phone, and they're just like, "Okay, by the way, since you found my car keys, is my dad around?" And I'm like, "Man, it's 2:30 in the morning. Give me a break." So I'm just saying that's just one of the what do you call it? The things that come along with the business. Yeah.
Outside of the business.
It's a boundary issue, so.
Yeah. But really, I mean, anyone who's doing this work, God bless you, man. Just keep it real and just do the best you can and trust your gut, trust your instincts, trust that intuition. And there's lots of souls that will help you. They trust you when you're doing the right thing and you're on track and you're really developing. They will help you, and they will trust you, and they will come in for you, and so they will help you along your path. So good luck with all that.
Well, thank you so much, George. This has been a wonderful evening, just chock full of great information. We're going to have you come back, that's for sure.
Love to, yeah. We barely touched the tip of the iceberg here.
I know there's so much more to talk about, and I know you have many more stories to share with us. They've all been so wonderful, and again, so informative, so entertaining. You're great, George. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate your friendship and this opportunity from you both. So thank you.
You're a sweetheart.
Okay.
I'll be talking to you soon, whether you like it or not.
I know, you always do. So, yeah. So you're welcome anytime.
Okay, George, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, bye-bye.
So, Patricia, what a great show. Thank you so much for bringing George into my life and to our audience.
Welcome.
This has been
isn't it funny how our friends have brought friends to us? That's how that's how you got to my life, and now we're doing the daisy chain.
That's right. We're just continuing on. So we're going to be talking again about life after death next week, and again, more mediumship stuff the week after. It just is going to continue one great show after another. So I just can't wait. It's just so much fun to be doing this with you, Patricia, and again, all the great people that you bring to the show. Thank you.
It's wonderful because we have opportunity to open doors and give people an bird's eye view of what really it's all about.
Yes.
Which I think is fabulous.
It is, and it's everybody's experiences together and all these great people that come to share with us. We are just so grateful. So everybody have a wonderful week, and I'll see you on the Blue Highway. Good night, Patricia. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Patricia. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with